Hey there. Welcome to the Pelvis Project podcast. I'm Megan.
And I'm Roxy. We're two pelvic health experts brought together by passion for our careers, entrepreneurship, motherhood, and the desire for intentional relationships.
Join us in our mission to spread pelvic floor awareness and start conversations surrounding the truth behind genuine health, imperfect wellness, and joyfully navigating life. We are so glad you are here with us.
Let's start the conversation.
Hello, Roxy.
Hello.
All right. Well, we're really excited for this episode. We have a guest interviewee on, Sara Skiles, who is a local doula here in Wichita. And also, she's many things. So Sara is the owner and family care coordinator at Wichita Doula and is also a certified doula, pediatric sleep consultant, and childbirth educator. Sara is the mother of 2 teen sons and has extensive training, skills, and personal experience in breastfeeding, birth options, comfort techniques, and all facets of infant care and sleep. She currently holds certifications in doula work, pediatric sleep, advanced newborn care, childbirth education, and other related skills. She is proud of her past work in overcoming perinatal anxiety, OCD, and depression, and one of her biggest passions is helping other new parents get the education, practical help, and the resources they need to have a positive postpartum experience. I'm super excited for this conversation with Sara, and we hope that everybody enjoys it as well. All right. Well, Sara, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. I'm really excited.
So, okay, on your intro, you talked about you have 2 teen boys. How old are they?
So my oldest just turned 14 and my youngest just turned 11. So super fun age.
Yes. And I think you've told me before, what sports are they doing? They did cross-country track?
My youngest does cross country. He's so fast. He teleports.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. They both play basketball and they go to chess club.
Oh, chess
that's
club.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. I love it.
They're well-rounded guys.
I was going to say, that's a good spectrum.
I know.
Spectrum to have.
So you are a busy mom and wife, and you also are doing some really important work in our community. So what kind of took you into doula work?
So when I had my oldest son, 14 years ago now, I had a really great experience. I had a midwife, I had a doula, just felt really, really supported, really listened to, really taken care of. I had this great birthing experience, and I was starting to realize that almost nobody I knew could tell the same story. A lot of people were saying that they felt like nobody was really listening to them, like they were just being rushed along, kind of feeling like they were on a conveyor belt in maternity care. And so that was something that really inspired me to kind of get out there, and I wanted to be that person for somebody else to help them have that great experience. And we kind of branched out into the postpartum side of things because I realized there's no epidural for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And so I realized moms really wanted to just take me home with them after the delivery. So
you branched into oh gosh, we could talk about that for sure. So when you started into this, there weren't many doulas around, were there? 14 years ago,
No, there were not. There were a few. Mostly it was other moms who had maybe had a difficult birth experience and they learned a lot from it, and then they wanted to help other people kind of have a different story. And we all there was a group of us that had young kids and would do it on the side. And then I was the one that kind of pushed through to build an actual career out of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. You guys, and you've been consistent, which is so great. So when people hear the word doula, because a lot of times doula, midwives get confused, but when someone hears doula, what do you wish they understood beyond just labor and delivery?
Well, I think I wish that they understood more about the labor and delivery.
Yeah.
Because so many people still don't even know about that. They'll say, oh, a doula is like a glorified water carrier and back rubber. And it's well, we actually have highly specialized training to understand optimal fetal positioning during labor.
Yeah.
So that depending on where the mom is having her pain or what the contraction pattern is or what the dilation is at, we can understand what position to put her in order to encourage that baby to rotate and descend, which actually has a very significant effect on lowering their risk of a C-section. So we do a lot more within our non-medicine scope of practice besides just being a paid cheerleader.
Sure. Yeah. No, I think that when I have patients and I ask them, I'm like, okay, are you planning on having a doula? And for ones that I know, I just recently had somebody, she's getting close and is planning on having a doula. And I was giving her some resources to look at. And I was just like, these are just some things to go over. And I was like, listen, you have a doula. And I was like, she is going to coach you through these positions, like breathing, like pain. And it's just so nice to know. I know on my end, I get excited when patients I know are going to go into their birth experience having that extra support. Roxy, I can't remember. Did you use a doula when you?
I didn't. I didn't have a
No, you
doula.
didn't.
I
I
would really
know.
debated it. I think I would guess
I know. No.
if you wanted to speak into that, because I think my biggest holdup was like, I'm just kind of a private person and I didn't want a
Mm.
crowd or just a lot of extra kind of people in the room. What's kind of just like, I love it when patients have doulas and I really shoot on it for myself. But there was kind of just that like, oh, I don't know. Like, am I going to like that or would I rather it just kind of be me or, not me, but my husband and I, but
Yeah.
kind of just, I know other people, I'm probably not the only one, maybe I am, but like, what's kind of
I
like
don't
your
think you are
thoughts
the
with
only
that?
one. I do hear that. I have heard that quite a bit actually. And I mean, obviously everybody's a little bit different in what's going to help them and what's going to work for them. But I think it's so important to realize, especially if you're giving birth in a hospital, that by the time you're actually pushing out that baby, there's going to be 12 people in that room that you've
Mhm.
never even seen before in your entire life.
Mm,
And for both you and your husband to actually have someone that you have a relationship with
Mhm.
there that you can look to guide you and coach you and support you when there's strangers and there's all these lights being turned on and there's kind of this hustle and bustle. Your doula is kind of like the only constant who's been with you this entire time that you actually have that really good relationship with. And so a lot of times, not just the mom, but also the dad, like when everything is going down, they're like locking eyes with us, like so we can telepathically communicate to them, like everything is fine.
Yes.
Your wife and your baby are fine. There's a lot going on, but it's all cool. It's all good. We're really able to be such a grounding presence for the couple in that room, which is really, really a cool thing. But I think people just don't realize that when they're actually pushing out their baby, like at that moment, they're gonna basically feel like they're in a zoo.
Yeah.
yeah, that's so true.
I was gonna say that's such a good perspective of like that alone of going from it thinking about it just being the two of you to then like 12 people in the room, that then it is nice to have that person. And I think sometimes it's overlooked that people forget like when somebody reaches out to you, like you meet with them multiple times before,
Oh yeah.
the baby is born. And so you have that relationship and it's not like you're just like, hey, yep, I'll be at the hospital like
Yeah.
you've never met them before.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, we meet them multiple times. We go to their home multiple times. I usually teach them their childbirth class in person, and then, of course, we're
Yes.
doing a lot of texting all throughout the pregnancy and phone calls. So we do end up having a pretty tight relationship there at the end where we're very familiar. We're a very, familiar face, familiar presence.
I love that.
Talk about that a little bit. So I know you offer childbirth classes, which I think is fantastic. What a cool, like collaborative thing to like do that class with them and then get to be there in the birth. Because I know
Yeah.
back when I had my kids and I went to the hospital and did my birth class and then I had my baby, I forgot everything. So what does that look like? Do you go to their homes and it's one-on-one and you do that class? Or like, how does that? Because I'm sure also people that are local and listening are going to be like, oh, yeah, you do that.
Yeah, that's one-on-one. That's just like we are now, but with a fake baby.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
yeah, we've got
Yeah.
the fake pelvis and the baby, and we go over how that all works, all the mechanics, the different positions, different stages of labor, what to expect from each one, and they'll be furiously taking notes, and it's like, well, don't forget, I'm gonna be there too.
I
So
know. Man, I know. Like, come on.
yeah,
That's awesome. man, I want to go back and have another baby just so I can have a
Do it. Number 3, number
you
3.
know.
Thinking about then just how, I mean, you're doing stuff on the front end, then you're there in delivery, then you're following up postpartum. How do you see the impact of that then postpartum? Like what are some when you've been able to walk through that with somebody, what's that look like on the flip side, or what's the dividend then that you're actually seeing just even with recovery or postpartum or just with the whole experience maybe?
Yeah, just really seeing them blossom. They go from like, I'm hiring a doula because I'm really scared.
Mhm.
Like, I'm really anxious and overwhelmed. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, that's why I'm literally paying somebody to guide me through this whole thing step by step. And then as the time goes by and they become more confident and they actually have their baby and we visit them and show them how to do things and encourage them that, you're not going to mess up your baby if you don't put the diaper on the right way the first time. And then just seeing them really grow in confidence from taking 20 minutes to change the baby's diaper to, either the mom or the dad just changing it like a ninja in under 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And they're so confident compared to where they started out. And they're usually just, really appreciative of all the support to kind of get them there. And so that's super, super rewarding and super, super fun. I really love that.
Mm.
Oh, I bet. That I know when you say that, I'm like, to see that happen, because yeah, I mean, God, what a life-changing experience. And I think that, I mean, I just remember thinking like, I do not know what I'm doing. And to
Mhm.
have that person, just having that support, to your point of the diaper, it's like if you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And so to have somebody say like, actually, that's okay. It doesn't matter if that goes on that way or not. And I think too, I mean, the more we know, I know that like on our end from, some conferences that we've been to, that used to be the 6-week checkup. And in our field years ago, it was like, okay, we need to be doing something before 6 weeks. This just isn't right to have just
For
send
sure.
somebody home. Yeah. And like, so now really they're pushing more for like, hey, we should be seeing people at 2 to 3 weeks. And part of that is just getting eyes on them. And so I think this like postpartum sort of care, a lot of times people don't even know that that's available.
Right. Yeah, they really don't. I hear all the time, like, "Where were you when I had my baby?"
Right. So when you guys offer that and you go for the postpartum care, what does that typically look like? Is that like how many days postpartum do you go to their home? Like how does that?
Everybody's different, we'll have one family that's like, "Okay, we're very overwhelmed. We don't know anything about babies. Meet us at our house when we come home from the hospital."
Yeah.
And we'll either spend the afternoon with them or even spend the night with them and get them
Awesome.
some sleep, because once you get home from the hospital, at that point, you have not slept in about 3 days.
Yeah.
So, we'll get them some naps and then work on some of the infant care things and answer all their questions and make sure everything looks normal with mom's physical recovery and things like that. So everyone is totally different. So we do a consultation with them beforehand to kind of figure out who they are as a family and as parents and how we're going to fit into that. Because we don't come in like, oh, we're the experts. We're going to tell you that everything you're doing is wrong and you have to do it our way. It's like, how can we fit into your family and serve you so
I
that
love
you
that.
come out of it feeling like you got what you needed and you got
Mhm.
what you wanted? So that might be like maybe twice a week. We come in and mom takes a nap and a shower, eats a meal with both hands, has a list of
Yeah.
questions and topics. Like, today, I want you to teach me how to give the baby a bath in the sink. Or I want you to teach me how to put on this baby carrier or the wrap, or whatever it
Yeah.
may be.
Right.
Every once in a while, it's maybe we'll do a little bit of organizing. We'll organize the nursery, the baby's clothes, and organize them by month. So
Yeah.
every mom is totally different in what they need. We have visits where we don't even hold the baby at all. Maybe mom goes and lays down and breastfeeds the baby the whole time while we're doing things around the home that make her feel like it's okay for her to lay down and rest with the baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's other visits where maybe I knock at the front door and mom opens the door, hands me the baby. It's just like, I'm going to bed.
I
So
love
it's
it.
really just whatever that family needs, whether it's every day, couple days a week, or whatever it may be.
Man. Roxy.
What was I doing?
I know. You needed to bring Sarah to
Seriously.
Abilene, Kansas.
You said how long does this doula care last? I mean, Like, what's the cutoff
I
of
know, 5-month-old. At that point, we
5
turn into
years?
childcare.
Like, no, I'm just kidding.
4 months old for me. I mean,
Okay.
I know that the postpartum period doesn't
Yeah,
technically end by
sure.
4 months, but normally by the time I have to dangle a toy over the baby's face, like I'm done. That can be off
That
the record, but
yeah, I hadn't
that's
really
just
like,
how I feel.
that's actually a really good question because I hadn't thought about, like, how long you offer like, kind of that service up to. So but
Yeah.
that does bring up a, a really good point. But man, how powerful. That's so great. What rewarding work, and it's so needed. I
Mm.
mean, gosh, to just have support. So great. So tell us a little bit about, because I know, I mean, you might be getting this question a lot, but how do you work in a dynamic with the OBGYNs and the hospital, the nurses, and like that just, continuation of care, in case there's any questions surrounding that of how you guys all work together?
Yeah, I do get that question a lot. And I think that's really important too, because when you have a doula in your space, when you're in that really vulnerable time and going through that birthing experience, you don't necessarily want like an abrasive personality in that room with you. But you do want to make sure that you have an advocate and that your voice is being listened to and respected, and your birth plan is at
Yeah.
least being looked at. So we have a really great working relationship with all the doctors and nurses in our area. Usually, when they see me or one of my partners coming, the nurses are super happy to see us, and they're like, "Oh
That's
my gosh,
awesome.
so glad you're here! I can finally pee, or
I
I
love
can
that.
finally eat a granola bar or something like that." So, as far as the advocacy portion of what we do, that mainly looks like amplifying the mom's voice and keeping that line of communication open between her and her medical staff. So, for example, that might look like if somebody is offering her a procedure or a medication, and maybe she doesn't know what that is, we might say, "Hey, can we have a few minutes to just discuss that first before we go ahead and do that?" And then we'll say, "Okay, so here's some of the pros and cons. Here's a couple questions that you can ask the doctor when they come back into the room. What are you feeling about that? Are you feeling good about that, or do you have any hesitation about that?" And then that way, once the doctor comes back in the room, mom kind of understands what's going on and
Yeah.
has questions to ask and is equipped to confidently say yes or no and feel really good about the decision that she's going to make. So it's never about us talking for her, answering questions for her, or being disrespectful to anybody or overstepping our non-medical scope of practice. It's about making sure that mom's wishes are being listened to and that mom has the space and the time to clearly think about what's going on and see what she wants to do and what she feels good with.
Yeah.
That I just think back to my experiences of and just the value of that pause that you allow.
Mhm.
I think a lot of times we get questions asked or like, what about, there's decisions that need to be made.
Right.
And I think there's a unspoken assumption that it has to be answered right in this moment and like make a
Right.
choice. Like answer and then we can decide or then we can move forward. And I think just even that what I'm hearing is like you're helping also create space for like, let's just pause for a minute.
Yeah.
Let's think
Yes.
about
Slow
this. Like,
down.
what do you want? And that's like a good, I don't know, I think that's a super healthy, yeah, just
And
a
yeah,
healthy way to
environment.
approach, yeah,
Yeah.
decision making in those foreign, for quite frankly, none of us are used to being in the delivery room. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that, we're just there
Right.
when it's our turn. And
Yeah.
so just, I love that pause, like you're saying, of let's just think about this and let's really chew on it for a minute before we commit to something, or let's check in with ourselves. And I think that's really beautiful.
Right. The hospital staff is always more than happy to let mom have some time to process it and, ask
Yeah.
questions and make a decision. It's like it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm tired and I'm hurting and what do I do? I just, I want this to be over, but I also don't want to look back on this a month later and be like, gosh darn it, that wasn't what I was wanting to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think, I've one thing that I've always loved about your approach is, it's like you can have a really great experience in the hospital. And I think that, it's like especially when you're first time mom, you can't help it. You get bombarded with all this information and you start to be like, well, should I do this? Should I do that? Did I make the wrong decision? Did I do this? And it starts to just kind of snowball into thinking like, did I make the wrong choice even like going this direction or medicated or unmedicated. And just to be
Right.
like, hey, like this can be great anywhere you decide. And just having that sounding board and not like a biased opinion, like you're just there to like give the feedback or even like asking more questions. Like a good coach is somebody who asks questions and gets curious, which is essentially what
Right.
you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think too, some people probably don't think about if, for the person who maybe is a little bit more quiet and has a harder time speaking up for themselves versus like the person who's used to speaking up and is more direct. I think it's easy for some moms to be like, why is that hard for some people? But like we're all created, some people's hard to speak up, but we all have different communication styles. And it's just if you're unsure or if like, let's just say you tend to be like a people pleaser and you're just like, say yes to everything. I think exploring having somebody there to just, if you know that about yourself and you're like, I have this desire to have a birth experience that's like, if it can be the certain way, but I know I'm going to need some help kind of communicating that, that's where just like your role to be able to step in is so important. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure you see that of just different personalities of people.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, everyone has a different communication style, but most importantly, everybody has a different way of being when they are under stress and in
Yeah.
pain.
Yeah.
So that also completely affects the way that they might communicate or the way that they might think through decision making or the way that they might ask questions. And
God,
so being sensitive to that,
that is
in helping
so
them
true.
formulate their thoughts and formulate what questions they want to ask.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
just the,
we are yeah. We are
yeah,
so different when we're in pain.
that's true.
It's like, "Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, what's happening?"
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's switch gears a little bit because you are a woman of many talents and talk a little bit about your sleep consultant business. So, Sarah is also the baby whisperer. That's what I call her to my patients who are coming in so tired, telling me, my baby's not sleeping. And I'm like, can I please take this card and reach out? So, we'll tag your handle afterwards, but her Instagram handle for her sleep consultant business is The Baby Is Asleep. So tell us, yeah, how did you? I mean, I'm sure this kind of segued from everything you were doing, but when did you start doing sleep consultant work?
This absolutely just became a natural offshoot of everything that I was already doing. So, I work with them through the pregnancy, teach the childbirth class, attend the birth, take care of the newborn. And then when baby's 4, 5, 6 months old and still waking up every 30 minutes all night long, but why go somewhere else? I can
I
help you
know.
with that too. uh,
Well, and you know these babies from the moment they were born.
I do. I do. Yeah. And of course I work with babies that I didn't attend their
Of
birth.
course. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, a lot of times we'll have that natural progression where I just continue working with that family. So I started doing that about 6 years ago. I've always been very interested in that, especially since neither of mine slept at all when they were babies. So my youngest did not sleep more than 40 consecutive minutes until he was 14 months old. So
You should, for those that can't see the video, our jaws are open. That's why there are no words.
so yeah, it's important to know that I know what it
You
feels
know.
like. I've been there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, exactly, which is, like, powerful because it's like yeah. Oh my
I
goodness.
know exactly what it feels like, and I know the feelings of, like, is it okay to change anything about my baby's sleep? Is it okay to put him in his own crib? Is it okay if he cries? Is it okay if we do this or that? And you have a lot of those feelings and uncertainties as a mom, especially a first-time mom, because you really don't wanna mess this up. You really wanna do what's right for your baby.
Okay, so, I mean, we've got lots of questions with this, but I do have to know before I forget, do you see and it could be okay if you don't really if you're like, "I can't really say either way," but because you get the opportunity to kind of be at the birth experience and potentially know how the birth went, basically, and then get to maybe work with this baby with, sleep stuff, do you see any impact on sleep depending on how delivery went?
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
do.
okay, okay, that's what I
Yeah.
was wondering. Yeah.
Yeah, so you have a baby that's maybe a little bit more tight or tense.
Uh-huh.
Um, they are definitely gonna have a little bit more trouble sleeping.
Okay.
Yeah, I do see that, and so see, what I will tell moms is, I do kind of an assessment beforehand to kinda see what's going on with the baby and what is in the baby's history and what kinda things I would need to be aware of, and just kinda see, like, how much I can help this baby because it's like if I want this 8-month-old baby to be sleeping 12 hours straight overnight, but they have maybe some physical issues or some nervous system type issues, it's like, well, maybe we can only make 80% progress. Maybe they're gonna
Gotcha.
sleep 8 or 9 hours overnight and then maybe wake up and then maybe go back to sleep a little bit longer. And for older children as well, it's like if you have a 3-year-old that's waking up every hour, and it's like, well, I work with the behavioral side of that. So if
Right.
80% of your child's sleep problems are behavioral and 20% are airway, mouth breathing, teeth grinding, that type of thing, well, we're gonna see an 80% improvement in the overnights because it's the behavioral portion of it that I work with.
Sure. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, here's a question I would have. What's the ideal age to kind of start? Because I mean, it's like, of course, you have a newborn, there's newborn things, but when is it a time where you're like, okay, I can kind of step in and start guiding? Or is that like from the get-go you start?
Oh, yeah. I mean, parents can start gently working with this from day one because babies are born without circadian rhythm. So they don't
Mhm.
actually
Mhm.
know the difference between day and night because they've just been in the womb in the dark
Mhm.
for 9 months. And then when mom's walking around during the day, they're effectively rocking their baby to sleep. And then when mom lays down in bed quietly overnight, baby's awake. And so they come out like that as well. And so you see this. I mean, we've all seen this. We bring
Mhm.
home baby and baby sleeps like 5 hours straight during the day and then is up every 20 minutes all night. So we actually have to guide the baby to understand the difference between day and night right off, or they don't naturally learn it on their own until they're about 3 months old. So that's just as
Right.
simple as not letting them sleep all day, making sure they're getting up and eating every 2 hours during the day, making sure they have a dark sleeping environment, swaddle, passy white noise, for sleep times, making sure they get some morning light exposure. So those are some really, really basic things that parents
Yeah.
can be doing, like, from birth to teach baby the difference between day and night. But I would say if baby is not having some consolidated napping on a general routine and sleeping at least a good several hour stretch overnight by 3 to 4-ish months, I
Mhm.
would say there is some intervention that we could be doing to get baby on a decent schedule and be having a pretty good chunk of consolidated sleep overnight.
That's so good. I know you don't think about things like that. Like, no wonder they get their days and nights confused. Like they're in the dark womb
Yeah,
for 10 months essentially.
exactly. It's like what's day, what's night? I don't know what those concepts mean, but we
Right.
can we can teach those things.
Gosh, I have like thousands of questions. I'm just sitting here trying to figure out what I need to ask. But Google, right, is where I get most of my information from. So this is going to really probably be nails on a chalkboard, but I don't know. Like sleep regressions, are those a thing? And is that truly what is happening? Because, for example, my baby was waking up once a night. We were beautiful, like sleep, getting these long stretches in, and then boom, within literally one overnight. It's like
Yeah,
he's waking up 3 times, and it was
right.
right at 4 months, and it's like the 4-month sleep progression. So, like, is that a thing? Is that something you wait out, or are you just, like, trying to intervene right away? Like, does that make sense of just what's
Yeah, no, that's a
natural
great
and
question.
what's, like, correctable or within reason?
Yeah. No, the 4-month sleep regression is a real thing, but not in the way that parents think. So when we call it a regression, we just mean that, oh, now the baby's not sleeping as well as he was previously, and that's a regression, right? But what is actually happening is that the baby has made a huge leap in development. And so now newborn sleep strategies do not work anymore at this age. So that's the only, that's what's going on. So from birth to about 3.5 months, sleep is controlled by the nervous system. So there's essentially a switch in your baby's brain where if they get tired or overstimulated, brain just goes, fall asleep.
Mhm.
And so we all remember having our little baby in their like bucket seat, right, in the crowded restaurant or something, and they're just like passed out, or they could sleep hours at a time and you have to like physically wake them up just so that they can eat. And then when they turn 4 months old, none of that happens anymore. Now they're napping 20 minutes at a time, waking up multiple times during the night, and mom and dad are like, what the heck? What went wrong? It's not that anything went wrong, it's that the baby no longer has that off switch of the nervous system for them to just be able to fall asleep anytime, anywhere, unless they learn how to do it themselves. So from 4 months on, the baby is actually at least somewhat in control of relaxing their muscles and closing their eyes and falling asleep. But
Yeah.
the baby never gets a chance to do that because mom and dad still continue on patting, rocking, swaying, bouncing, nursing, etc., to put that baby into the drowsy state and then transfer the sleeping baby to their crib. So baby completes a sleep cycle, comes to full consciousness instead of just slipping into the next sleep cycle, says, "Oh my gosh, where's my mom?
Yeah.
Why did I fall asleep in my mom's arms and wake up on my back in the dark in this crib?" And baby's nervous system is going, "Alert, alert, alert."
Uh-huh.
And so if we can teach baby at that point to fall asleep in their crib on their own, every time they complete that sleep cycle, they're going to remember and recognize where they are and that they've already done this. And it's
Mhm.
not a big emergency where we have to call in a parent to come and recreate those initial sleep conditions over and over and over and over and over.
Oh, I love that. This
That is
stuff
so
is so
good.
fascinating to me.
I do have another question then, that I feel like I've looked up, and this is gonna be more pertaining to working moms, but I've seen some different things. It's like basically what their wake time drives their or like the daytime can drive the nighttime and vice versa. And so when my baby's at daycare all day and it's
Mhm.
seeming their nap times and all that are seemingly out of my control, does that have that like a big influence then on that nighttime rhythm, or is that not as big of a thing as or vice versa? Like does the sleep change how well the nighttime change how well their daytime rhythms are?
This is one of those things that's going to be individual to the baby as they get older and develop their distinct personality, their distinct needs, their distinct sleep needs specifically. So this is something that is going to be different for every baby. Now, if we
Mm.
have a really difficult case, baby has never slept well, baby is really sensitive, we are going to want those naps to kind of fall into line to be able to positively affect the bedtime and the overnight. If we have maybe a more go with the flow type baby, I mean, I've seen babies have naps at daycare that are just absolutely wild, where I'm just like, baby, what are you doing? And they can still sleep fine overnight if they learn that skill of being able to fall asleep independently. So, yeah, I have definitely had cases where we had to dial in like crazy on those naps to really see the night start to come together. And I've had babies that go to daycare and like mom has zero control over the naps. Naps are absolutely unbelievably bad, and they'll still learn to sleep really well at night. So they're just all a little bit different.
Okay. No, that's interesting.
I just feel like I have so many mamas that come in and they're like, I can't put them down. I put them down to sleep for, it's 10 minutes and they're or I just set them down, their eyes pop open, and I have to hold them to nap. And that's fine in the beginning. And then as
Yeah.
mom's trying to kind of like establish some sort of routine again and try to find herself again, it gets challenging.
Yeah.
And I know that am always encouraging, obviously, you and what you offer. And I what I see, and often say, like, just have a consultation. It's not like a
Yeah.
cry it out thing. Because I think when people hear about sleep consultants or anything like that, that's what they think. So, kind of tell us a little bit about like when someone works with you, what does that look like? Is it all through just virtually? They're updating you, just so people have a more idea of, yeah, how that works.
Yeah, well, I do that assessment with them beforehand to get a really good idea of the baby's situation and history and just kind of go over how exactly I'm going to be able to help them. I create a super detailed custom plan for each baby because each baby is a person. They're not a robot, and they may need a slightly different schedule or a slightly different wake window or
Yeah.
what have you. And then I do a super, super detailed coaching call initially with the parents. And then I text with them at bedtime every night for generally 1 to 2 weeks. And so I'm right there to hold their hand if they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is hard. I'm not having fun. What do I
Yeah.
do? Or you
Yeah.
said to do this, but now my baby's doing this. Help." I kind of hold their hand through that process a little bit. I definitely do not do anything where you put the baby in the crib and say, "Okay, good luck, baby. See you
Mm.
tomorrow." Because
Yeah.
I feel like if parents were comfortable with that, then they could just go ahead and do that and they wouldn't need to work with a professional.
Yeah. Yeah.
My methods are definitely a little bit more, holistic, a little bit more, respectful of the baby and
Mhm.
respectful of, moms being a little bit nervous to do this and to make a big change. It's really important to know that babies and children are going to cry when we ask them to do something new that they've never done before, and we tell them that, the usual way that you've been doing this, we're not gonna do that tonight. They're gonna protest against that. That's normal, that's natural. It's good for them to be able to express their feelings about
Mhm.
that under our loving and watchful care. And so if our baby is struggling a little bit with learning this new thing, we are gonna go in there and comfort them and make sure they know that they're okay and they're not alone. We're never leaving babies alone
Yeah.
with long
Yeah.
periods or anything like that. So we're very, very supportive to the child throughout the entire process. But at the end of the day, the child does still need to learn how to do this, and we're just
Yeah.
gonna support them in that. But they got to figure it out. They got to get it done.
Yeah. I think it is just like that perspective of like they don't know how to do this. Like
Yeah,
that's our it's like our first step in parenting of like, hey, I'm going to kind of like gently guide you on how we're going to sleep and
yeah,
it might take a little bit more work on the front end of having to like be persistent and consistent and
for
going
sure.
in and stuff instead of just like swooping baby up and rescuing, but man, it pays off in the long run. Unless you're choosing to have, your older child sleep with you. If that's your desire, great. But if that's not something you
Sure.
want, but and it's just happened because of you couldn't figure out, the sleep patterns and everything. But man, I think this is so helpful and so good. Roxy, any other burning questions as a mother of a 5-month-old right now before we wrap up?
I guess what and this I know is gonna be probably very unique, but what's just a realistic timeline that we would expect to see change? If we're being consistent and we're implementing things like it was kind of like you're like, "Okay, we can still be patient in this, like, it's okay,"
Right.
that you're kinda comforting or
Yeah.
comforting parents through
Yeah.
this.
Within 3 days, you should start seeing really exciting forward progress. You should be like, "Oh my gosh, like, it's actually working."
That's
Like, we're
awesome.
actually seeing our child go from hourly wakes to maybe a 4 or 5-hour stretch before they wake, and so we should see that really exciting, like, measurable progress within the first 3 days. If we have kind of a more go with the flow baby, where it's really more about training the parents rather than the
Mhm.
baby,
Uh-huh.
we're gonna see, like, those total results within a week. And if we have maybe a more sensitive baby or a more difficult case, what have you, like, we're gonna see that take closer to 2 weeks to really start seeing, like, a good nap schedule, really good overnight, sleeping through the night, and just kind of seeing all of that really good progress that we wanna make.
Wow,
That's
that's so
incredible.
good. I know, it really is.
Is that okay, so then I have kind of a follow-up question for that. If you're working then at, let's say, that 4 month or, 4 or 5 months, and then if maybe a couple months down the road they hit another like, just maybe they get sick or, something upends their
Yeah.
schedule there, is it kind of a whole different approach then? Or is what worked then still gonna be really similar to troubleshoot problems later?
So you really should not have to repeat the process. I do a ton of education with my parents up front so that they understand how to deal with these little bumps in the road because it's like, why invest in a sleep consultant? Like you're putting in
Uh-huh.
time, money, effort. Why do all of this just thinking in 3 weeks from now your child is going to get a cold or have a tooth pop
Yeah.
through and then everything is ruined? right? We don't want to have that. So I do a ton of education up front so that they understand how to cruise past all of those little bumps in a road. Teething is not an excuse to be sleeping terribly. Maybe initially they'll be a little bit more fussy, need a little bit more comfort. That's normal. That's fine. But ongoing, like months at a time, not getting any sleep at all, that to me, I wouldn't accept that. So yeah, I mean, if the parents are consistently holding the boundaries with their children and consistently following the techniques that they know work, anything like a vacation, a tooth, a cold, etc., is just going to be a little blip, and then they're going to settle right back into their normal routine that they know and love.
I think every new parent needs to listen to this podcast with you on this. I'm already like, oh my goodness.
I need
Now
educated.
I have even more info to tell my patients to come see you.
And you do virtual, yeah? Like,
yeah,
I do.
yeah, she does, yeah.
Yeah, it's all
I
virtual.
know. Roxy's like, I'm gonna get on your schedule.
yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, sign me up.
Yeah.
Well, before we wrap up, so where can families find you to learn more about you as a doula and also sleep support services?
So our doula website is wichitadoula.com. We are on both Facebook and Instagram also. Instagram is at Wichita Doula, Facebook, facebook.com/Wichita Doula LLC. And then for the sleep side of what I do, it's at The Baby Is Asleep, thebabyisasleep.com. Anyone's welcome to follow me on Instagram. I'm not super active on there these days. I don't advertise parents into doing this. If a mom is ready to make a change for her health and for her baby's health, I'm here. Anyone can message me on there or through my website to set up a free sleep assessment with me. So I just do kind of a 15-minute call, and you can tell me your story and what's going on with your baby, and we could talk about how I can help.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and I think one thing you just said that, I mean, honestly, like a nugget to hold on to is this isn't just like the health of your baby, but the health of mom.
Yeah.
Because we see the lack of sleep and getting worn down and the fatigue. And then Roxy and I see it on the other side too, of physically help guide somebody through that recovery. When you look at somebody, it's like, we first need we got to figure out how mom's going to sleep and how you're going to eat and how you're going to, like, those foundational things have to happen. And so it's an investment, not just in the baby, but for mom's health too. And it's something I don't think that's ever framed like that. So thank you for saying that, because I do think that is really powerful. So
yeah, because a lot of moms I have noticed are concerned that they are being selfish by making a change to their baby's sleep. And it's like, well, but my baby loves to sleep in my bed so much. But my baby loves to be on the boob 24/7 so much.
Yeah.
Like, am I selfish for making a change?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, only you can answer that for yourself. But if you have ever had the experience where your baby wakes up and cries and stands up in the crib and you have a feeling that you resent your baby,
yeah.
you need to make a change.
You need to make a change. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, this was packed full of great information. I'm so excited. Sara, thank you so much for taking the time tonight to talk with us about this. And we'll tag her and all of her ways to get a hold of her in the show notes. And if anybody listens to this and has any direct questions, feel free to send us a direct message or send one out to Sara. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sara.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us this week on the Pelvis Project podcast. Help us continue the conversation by liking and sharing this episode with friends. And if you really want to do us a solid, leave us a review. If you'd like to follow us on social, check out the show notes for links. And remember, this week, take a deep breath and relax your pelvic floor.